What can you bring on your bikepacking trip when things go wrong? Because they eventually will.
Hey friends, Indiana Schultz with Cycling Kindness, and today I'm here to talk about repair items. What am I taking on my multi-year adventure, at least to begin with? And hopefully it's not too much. You want to strike the balance between having the right things without overloading your bike and realizing that sometimes there are just situations you're going to have to improvise so that you can get to the next town. So let's jump into that and take a look.
Out of all this gear I'm bringing, just a little bit is actually made up of my repair kit.
So there's going to be a few items that are readily accessible in my main frame bag. And the reason for that are these are the items that if something happens, they'll fix 90% of the issues that may arise. And so I want easy access to those. They're also items that I'll probably use on a day-to-day basis. So these are what stay in the main frame bag. This little case has the Lesign floor pump, micro floor pump. Have some extra electrical tape here. That's always good. You can peel it off. And I've had to fix bar tape when I had drop bar bikes and stuff like that. Pretty easy to use. I also love that this has a Schrader as well as a Presta adapter to it because I have drilled out my rims and they are now Schrader. So if I come across somebody out there in the wild who maybe needs assistance and they have a Presta valve, I can still help them out, which is really nice. So that stays on the main frame. The other thing that I always like to have, even though I've set up tubeless, are inner tubes. So I've got two Schrader tubes that sit on the bike. And yes, they do weigh a lot. They weigh more than, say, the Schwalbe or the other latex inner tubes that they have out there, the orange one, whatever that is, that are about a third of the weight. But with the rubber inner tube, you know what you're getting. It's easy to patch. You don't really have to worry about any of that. In 7 years of racing, over 3,500 miles, I've only had 3 instances where I've had to put a tube in the tire. And those were because of actual issues with the tire itself. Generally speaking, you can get a tire plug in there and make it to the next town. But for that reason alone, I don't even carry tire sealant because if an issue is that major, there's no way I'm going to be able to reseat the tire on trail, and I'm just going to throw a tube in and get to a town. Okay, so the final bag that will be stored on the frame bag is this Osprey Rolltop toolkit that came out of an Osprey Raptor 14 bag that I was trying out for the Colorado Trail. Didn't like the bag, but I liked the Rolltop kit, so I kept that part of it. And in here we have the Crank Tools M10 multi-tool. So it's going to have all your hex keys as well as flathead, Phillips, and a 25 star drive. I have this digital tire gauge, which automatically shuts off. That's really good to know your tire pressure, especially with a very heavy bicycle. There's kind of that sweet spot. If you're too low, you're going to get pinch flats. If you're too high, then you're going to have really poor handling. So once I figure that out, then I can kind of check it every day and adjust as needed. Have a travel toothbrush. This is great for not only cleaning the belt, the Gates carbon belt, but also if you have to disassemble your bike and you might have mud or whatever caked on there and you're in the middle of nowhere, this will help keep all your screws and everything else. You can just kind of keep everything a little bit cleaner. I have a bar of soap, and this is actually to use as lubrication for the Gates belts. If you get into really sandy, dry conditions, it's a certain type of mud that when it dries, the dirt, it makes your belt squeak, and it sounds like your belt is going to fall apart. I talked to Ryan Van Duzer, who's a world traveler, and he rides pinion drivetrain as well. And he turned me on to the bar of soap, and very grateful for that. I have a tire patch kit. This has some of the quick patches as well as the vulcanized rubber old school patches. I have an extra star bit, 25. This is a Pedro's tire lever. Had this for 7 years. Knock on wood. Keeps going for another 7 years. And then this is my tubeless plug kit. So I have the kind of generic little slab of bacon ones, which are usually great. Usually this is all you need. And then this summer I picked up Lazigne's version, which is essentially a beefed up version of that. And I like to keep them preloaded so that, you know, if you're in a rainy or muddy or really hot weather, you're not sitting there fiddling with it, wasting time, but essentially plugging those holes that might be in your tubeless tires. Some extra bacon, probably hard to find in certain parts of the world, so you might as well just bring extra. And then a valve core remover. This works great for if you have Schrader or Pressa valves. I'd recommend traveling with one in case you have an issue with your tubeless setup. And the final bag, which will live in one of my Arkle panniers on the rear of the bike, is another Osprey Rolltop. I actually purchased this for my toothbrush and toiletries, and I didn't quite really like it, so I tried it out with tools, and for me, it works well for that purpose. So in this top zipper here, I have these heavy duty zip ties that came with the Old Man mountain rack, and I didn't need them for the rear one. They give you extras anyways for the front one, so I think I'll just hold on to them because they have really good high tolerance limit on them. These are patches of helicopter tape. Same thing, they give you some of these with the racks if you have to install those pucks to protect your frame. And I use those in various other places, so it doesn't weigh a lot, might as well take some extra ones. These are those pucks that attach to your fork of your bike, and then that's what those zip ties go around. So if I were to ever break one, I have 2 extra pucks. Had no issues so far, but we got a lot of miles to go. And in this bottom roll here is where I keep most of the heavier items and just the stuff that I don't think I'm going to need on a day-to-day basis, but it's possible that something could go wrong and I could need them. I have tenacious gear tape in there. I have a repair kit for repair stickers for an inflatable pad. Even though I don't have one, I might get one down the road. Extra O-ring for the Phoenix lamp, and then an extra band retainer for my watch because that's broken a couple times. This is zipper lube grease. Highly recommend that to keep all of your zippers functioning properly and keep them less stressed out. The more you keep them functioning well, the longer they are going to last. An extra bar of that soap. This is DT Swiss special grease, so I'll use that if I need to lube anything, or at some point in time I might have to take the hub apart and relube the star ratchet brackets in there. These are extra pull cords for strings, like on jackets and stuff like that. So I've got 3 of those. And then these are 2 little extra plastic mounts. And those are actually, they hook into the Arkle system. Arkle made their system where you put in these adapters depending on the size of the rails of your pannier rack. And I think mine are 10 millimeters, so I got 2 extra 10 millimeters just in case those fall out. I don't have a lot of experience with the Arkle mounting system, so I've read some mixed reviews. I might as well have the extra stuff while I can. This is an eyeglass repair kit. I wear prescription glasses, so they're not Smiths or Oakleys or anything like that. So we'll see how long they hold up. Sewing kit, needle. The thread I have in my paracord, there in the center part, you can actually use it to sew with. And if you didn't have paracord, another thing you can use is floss. So if I've got to repair a hole in a sleeping bag or a jacket, or if I have to sew together a sidewall on a tire, then I have ample tools to do so. Some larger fabric patches. These are made by Gear Aid. They work really well. And here's the extra key set. This is from an old Nash bar set. It works really well. So the good thing about these is you have a little bit more leverage than you would on that small tool, the multi-tool. So these can work in different situations, but most of the time the multi-tool will get you to where you need to go. 10 millimeter box wrench. That is for the nuts on the Old Man Mountain rack. Probably will not need this a lot, but I would just rather have it than try to use my multi-tool to keep those from loosening when I'm trying to tighten them. XT brake pad, Shimano. I've got 2 sets. So one for the front, one for the back. Really heavy bike. We are going to burn through brake pads. If I had to guess, I'd say probably every 3,000 miles. These are all nuts and bolts, washers, spacers for the Old Man Mountain rack. In here I have the Park Tool tire boots. Fun story, I've never had to use those. I've given them away, but I've never had to use them. This is an extra tubeless Schrader valve with an extra cap as well as an extra valve core. Always good to have in case something happens. And a Park Tool tire lever. Let's hope I never have to use it because I have the Pedros. But once again, lightweight. Maybe I'll run across somebody on the road that needs one. This has been with me since day one. I've only had to use it a few times, but I've always been thankful that I've had it. This is a Leatherman squirt. Pretty lightweight. Extra tire plugs for the design. These are more of those tubeless patches. Or I'm sorry, glueless. I should say glueless patches. So I've got 4 boxes of those. Okay, and the last 2 items I'm going to talk about are not actually repair items, but they are safety items. And that is my orange whistle, which I bring on all my trips. So that stays in my top tube bag. Toot toot. If something bad happens. And there's a car going by or somebody going by, at least I can get their attention. Maybe to scare an animal. I don't know. I've heard bears don't really react to it. And then also the Zoleo communicator device. So this thing is really good with messaging. It's a lot easier to message with than the other GPS trackers I've had in the past. And it's also going to be sending tracking data up to track leaders. And with that, you also have your SOS button. So for some reason, I don't have the adequate tools in any of these kits, or I find myself in a bad position. This is a great peace of mind, not only for myself, but for my family and my friends that are out there watching me. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions about the repair kit, comments, concerns, just write a comment, let me know, and I'll get back to you.
Cycling kindness. Ride far, ride safe.